What up, guys? The Bench Buddies are back with my Week 23 MLB Power Rankings. As you can see here, I got the Diamondbacks moving up 5 after a great week, and the Marlins moving down 4 after their last few weeks just keeps on spiraling down for them. And we'll talk about the AL standings here. We got the Blue Jays only holding a 2-game lead over the Yankees and a 3-game lead over, or 3.5 game lead over the Red Sox, and then the Rays and Orioles pretty much out of that running. AL Central, it's all wrapped up at this point. Tigers going to run away with that one with a huge lead in that division. Then the AL West, that's your big storyline here, along with the AL East. Astros lead the division by 2.5 games over the Mariners. The Mariners hold a very slim margin over the Texas Rangers there with 74 and 70. Obviously, that is a game and a half lead there. And if you look at the AL wildcard picture, well, right now you got the Yankees and Red Sox getting the first two. Then that third spot goes to the Mariners. And like I said, they're a game and a half up on the Rangers, and they are 2 games up on the Royals and 2.5 on the Guardians. So anybody's race at this point in the season. Moving to the National League, big news out of Philadelphia today is they lose Trey Turner and Alec Boehm, but they do have a big division lead, a 7-game lead over the Mets. So no need to panic just yet there if you're a Phillies fan. In the NL Central, you got the Brewers keep on pulling away from the Cubs. I expect them to win that division with an 8-game lead. Then the NL West, that's the one that everybody's going to be looking at for these next few weeks. Dodgers and Padres both have awful weeks last week, and yet the Padres only game 1 game on the Dodgers, still only 1 game back from the Dodgers. But the wild card picture, it's the Cubs with the first, Mets with the second, and the Padres with the third. Now, it was pretty much between the Reds and the Giants, but none of these teams can really catch up. And unfortunately, there's only 3 weeks left of baseball. So if they got to do it, they got to do it now. 30 through 26, more than likely the teams you expect to be here at this point in the season. The White Sox are moving up 2, sweeping Minnesota in Minnesota, going to Detroit and winning a series there. Yeah, you're more than deserving to move up. This isn't based off a record. It's based off of how good these teams are playing. And the White Sox are playing a lot better baseball right now than the Miami Marlins and the Minnesota Twins. And, well, there's the Rockies too, I guess, but they're irrelevant at this point. Then at 26, you have the Washington Nationals. Same thing. Sweep the Marlins, go into Chicago and beat the Cubs. And now they get the Marlins again on the road in Miami and 3 against Pittsburgh. Who knows? Maybe this national team can play spoiler there in the NL East by beating the Phillies or the Mets and giving the other team a chance. 25 through 21. Nothing really big here except the Orioles moving up 4 spots after going into San Diego, wreaking havoc on the Padres and giving the Dodgers a chance to run away with it. But then they get the Dodgers at home, and what do? They take 2 of 3 from the Dodgers. So let the Padres claw their way back in it and really give them a chance to catch up in the NL West. But the Orioles, if this team finishes with 75 wins or better, I will be shocked at how awful their start of the year was, April, May. But if you eliminate that April, May, this team is more than likely a wild card team. They're playing like it right now, too. Then you have the Pirates, A's, Braves, and Angels to round out the rest of this slide here. Nothing big to report except the Pirates sweeping the Dodgers at home, and then getting swept by the Brewers, of course. But these teams are pretty much playing for spoiler at this point in the season, and the disappointment continues. 16 through 20, these are your postseason hopefuls living on a prayer for another week. As you can see there, they're all right around 500. Cardinals at 16 have a good week, go 4-2 to get back to 500. Big week for them as they're on the road against 2 more than likely playoff teams. And if they take both those series, this Cardinals team has a legit chance to get in the playoffs. Guardians, you got to win probably 5 of 7 this week if you want to even throw your hat into the ring. Same for the Rays. You got to win both those series in Chicago. And then the Giants. This team is an interesting one now because they have the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks at home this week. If they can win both those series, catch up not only in the NL West standings, but also in the wild card standings, that would be a big week for them, and they have to do it this week. And then the Reds, you have an interesting team. They had some good teams coming home last week, and they split, went 3-3. So it's not a bad week for them at all. But that's just kind of been the story of their season. They've been floating around 500 all year. Maybe this can be the week they go into San Diego and then they go to Las Vegas and possibly get 2 series wins here and throw their hat back into the ring for that wild card spot after a bad few weeks. 15 through 11, and on this slide, you got two playoff teams being the Mariners and the Mets as of right now, September 8th. And the Mets go into Detroit, win a series there, lose in Cincinnati, go to Philly. Like I said, they just lost Trey Turner and Alec Boehm, and they're down seven. If they can take three or four in that, cut that division lead to four, anything can happen this week. Diamondbacks were my biggest movers, obviously beating Texas and Boston, two playoff hopefuls, if not playoff teams, when it's all said and done at home is a huge boost to their confidence if they want to get into the playoffs. But like I said, they had that matchup with San Francisco, should go into Minnesota and win that series. I think you're looking at a 4-2 at worst. If you're a Diamondbacks fan, that's at least what you're hoping for to get to 76 and 74. But anything better than that would obviously be great. Mariners fall back one after getting swept in Tampa, but they responded with a series win in Atlanta. They get the Cardinals and Angels at home to keep up an AL West race with the Astros. They got to keep winning series. The Royals, they're right there. They're the team that's just on the outside, like the Texas Rangers. Um, Four in Cleveland, three in Philly. This is the week where the Royals really have to show that they are going to be a playoff team this year. Because if they had finished, I think, less than 500 this week, I can pretty much cross them off of my playoff teams. And then the team I haven't talked about is that Texas Rangers team at 11. Going to Arizona, like I said, they lost that one, but they did beat the Astros at home, which is a huge series win at this point in the season, not only for them, but for the Mariners as well. And they get Milwaukee at home at the Mets. They're in the same place as the Mets and the Royals. This is the week where you have to show up to prove that you belong in the playoffs. And, what better week with 3 weeks to go left in the season to really find out who those teams are going to be. 6 through 10, I think you can pretty much almost pencil all these teams into the playoffs, but in what order is going to be the big question moving forward. My Tigers at 6 go 2-4 last week, lose both series at home. The Mets one scored a lot of runs, just couldn't get it in their favor. And then the White Sox series, it just didn't pan out well for them. Lost those games late. Tigers really struggling right now, and they get rewarded by going into New York, who is one of the hotter teams in baseball. So they got to have a good showing there. Then they go to Miami to close out the week, and you got to win that series if you're the Tigers to build some confidence here going into the last 2 weeks of the season. At 7, get the Dodgers. Awful week, awful, awful week by the Dodgers. Going into Pittsburgh and getting swept. Going into Baltimore, and well, he should have had the series win, but then he blow it off of a no-hitter. Yamamoto, 1 out away, gives up a home run to Jackson Holliday. The wheels fall off, and that's the big concern for me for the Dodgers moving forward, heading into the playoffs, is that bullpen. Luckily, they get the Rockies at home before they go to San Francisco this weekend to hopefully get right for that series. At 8, I have the San Diego Padres, not moving a muscle, just like the Astros and the Red Sox. The Padres lose and get swept to the Orioles at home, but they do go to Colorado to get that series win, which is huge for them. Like I said, they gained one game on the Dodgers by going 2-4 this week. It's very bad for the Padres, but this was their week to really make up for it, and it still could be because they have 3 games against Cincinnati at home, 4 at home against Colorado, and you got to go 5-2 or better because I really don't see the Dodgers having another bad week like that for the rest of the year. The Astros at 9 go 3-4. Nothing really too much to report there as they lost both series to more than likely some playoff teams, and the Astros just don't look too good right now. I'm gonna be frank with you. Jordan's return has been helpful for that lineup, but I don't know. I'm just not sold on the Astros this year. I'm not even sold on them making the playoffs or even winning the West at this point in the season. There's 3 weeks left. Like I just said, these teams should be in the playoffs to pencil them in, but the Astros are that one question mark that I'm still worried about, which normally at this point in the season, you're not really worried about the Astros, but they go to Toronto, who's the best record team in the AL, and you go to Atlanta, who's still playing some tough baseball at this point. So the Astros got to have a good week this week, along with the Red Sox, because you go into Sacramento, technically Las Vegas A's, got to get that series win. And then 3 against the Yankees at home. They've had the Yankees number every single time this year. Can they keep that trend this year? And if that's the case, then they will more than likely jump the Yankees in the AL East and the AL wildcard standings. Then 1 through 5, you get the Phillies at number 1, beating Milwaukee in Milwaukee, beating Miami in Miami. So yeah, you're going to move up. Like I said, it's not a record thing. It all just depends on how I'm feeling at the moment and ranking these teams. And the Phillies right now are at number 1, but with the news that, like I said, Bohm and Trey Turner, I might be moving them back to 2 immediately because losing those two key pieces in the lineup is a huge blow to the Phillies, especially with the Mets coming to town. Brewers at 2, like I said, lost to Phillies at home, but they responded well going into Pittsburgh by sweeping them. Go to Texas on the road, and St. Louis possibly can knock them out of the hunt if they can sweep that series. Yankees, like I said, hottest team in baseball in my eyes. The week before, they had a really good week, destroying the White Sox, and I can't remember who the other team is, but in their last, I think it's 15. I think they've only lost 3 games, so they're 12 and 3, I believe it is, and that's huge for the Yankees at this point in the season. They're starting to get everything to click, but this is the week where, I would say last week was the week to prove it to me. They did. Can they keep it going? Because if they can go beat Detroit in a series and win a series in Boston, the Yankees might be my new AL representative favorite here very shortly. And especially with the Blue Jays only having a 2-game lead on them, means they could easily just turn around and get the number 1 seed here if the Blue Jays have not a big stumble, but a week where they're not too proud of by not winning both series. And that could definitely happen against Houston, definitely against Baltimore, the way they're playing these tough teams. And then the team I haven't talked about, the last team, is the Chicago Cubs at 5. They move up 5 spots, and it's because they beat the Atlanta Braves. I think they, unfortunately are playing better baseball than the Tigers right now. And I don't know. The Cubs, just the Cubs right now. I don't really see too much going right for them. The hitting is kind of taking a dip. So Art, agree to disagree, but I just have the Cubs at 5. You can put any team that I had at 6, 7, or even 8 there. But that rounds it out for my top 5 as we get into a great week of baseball.